Well, I'm excited, for our guest today. He's been, in the NBA. He's been had a stint in arena football, which will be fun. Um, been in minor league baseball a little bit, the Alliance of American Football, and USL and killing it. He's in Louisville. He's the vice president of sales and marketing. His name is Mitch Ried. How are you, Mitch?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining me, man. Well, I'm really, intrigued with your background, and we've been connected on LinkedIn, I think probably for a few years, and I've kind of been
Mhm.
following kind of some of your jumps, and we were talking beforehand about some of the people that we know in common, and it's there's a ton of them out there when you've been in it as long as we have. So, would love for you to kind of just go through your sports background. Start off where you went to school and kind of your journey from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, way back then, I'm from Indiana, grew up, near Muncie, Indiana, and went to Ball State University way back before, kids today could have these really nice sports management, sports marketing, careers. I wanted to be, here you go, show me the money, Andrew, right? I wanted to be Jerry Maguire. I wanted to be a sports agent. And, still one of my favorite movies of all time is Jerry Maguire. And that's, I was like, wow, that you could do that as a career and work in professional sports, kind of like what kids, kind of learn now. But back then we had to kind of build it on our own. So, pre-law kind of, looked at that and kind of looked at all these different things. But ultimately I ended up creating my own sports marketing degree. So I got a business degree in marketing. And then I got an athletic administration degree. So, certified to be an athletic director at, any type of level with a little bit, back then it was like, you get the athletic director, you get a touch on sports law, you get a touch on marketing, very little sales, where most jobs are, right? For people starting out. And even a little bit of physical science, to be an athletic trainer, start on that path. So not really as specified as what they, probably learn today specifically. So
Did
that's,
you play sports at all?
growing up, basketball, track and field, those were my two main sports. I was, kind of a trial. I was on the golf team one year,
Okay.
did a little stint on the baseball team, cross country, track, basketball, real small school, no football. My mother was one of those like helicopter moms, so like if I was going to get hurt, she wanted me not to do it. So then I wanted to do it even more. I was like,
Yeah.
how can I go to the school that doesn't have a football team. How can I go to the school with a football team? Like, is there a class I can take over there and,
Right.
and qualify so I can play football? But just wasn't, an option for me. But hoops was my thing. Basketball, growing up a kid in Indiana, you learn how to shoot a hoop before, your second lesson is grow corn. And then, you learn the rest of the life skills out there. So that was kind of my upbringing. Was great at Ball State. I did 5 internships while I was there, just trying to figure it out. So I worked for the Toledo Mud Hens, the AAA affiliate for the Tigers. It was a great summer there, working for some great people. Probably one of the most successful, AAA teams that's out there. So I worked there. I worked in the athletic department at Ball State. Doing promotions, marketing, learning some sales, and I'll touch on a little bit how that was a really cool experience while I was there. Worked for the Indiana Pacers and the Big Ten. Worked to the Big Ten used to alternate between Indianapolis and Chicago, go to the United Center, and then go to what was Conseco Fieldhouse back then. And the first year that they held the Big Ten basketball tournament there with Michael Redd and I think Scoonie Penn was on that team, or they had a really good team. And Ohio State was really stacked, and they ended up winning that tournament. But that first year I worked, just selling merchandise for a company, it was crazy, like hours we had to work, but, whatever I could do to be a part of it. So I did it. And then I was the marketing director my last year of college for a triathlon in my hometown. So, going out selling sponsorships and things like that. So, but, what really sold it for me, wanting to get on the business side and really, energize me when I was working in the athletic department at Ball State. This was, early, late 90s, early 2000s, right? And so there were some schools that, thought that selling sponsorships around college athletics was, taboo, I guess, if you will. It was, taking advantage of amateur athletes and all these things, which today couldn't be more opposite from how college
athletics.
Put a
logo? Where can we put a logo?
Right. It couldn't be more, but there was, an older president who'd been there for a long time, had traditions, and an older athletic director who was transitioning to retirement, both cases, and new people were coming in. So we had a gentleman from Notre Dame come in, and if you know anything about Notre Dame, they're very good at selling licensing and logos and monetizing values. And then a new president that was, hey, we can really generate some revenue for the university, changing the game here. So my two bosses that I worked for, Cal Kufal and Todd, they were promotions guys and marketing guys, and they had some relationships, but like selling all these new sponsorships was a crazy task for two guys who were more promotions driven. And this is so old school. Like today you have the digital, sideline boards. These were old vinyl that rotated on a clock. It was like, it's like these big vinyl sheets. And you put the sponsor sticker on it. We had 90 of those. We had, between the two sides of the basketball court that we were getting installed, and, a lot of inventory to sell. And so, those guys I'd done a really good job of selling program ads for the football. They said, hey kid, you're probably not going to sell anything, but we got 90 of these things, and I don't think, we need some help here. So basically what I did is, I just started making cold calls and sending, I just started faxing, fax machine, right? Kids, younger kids are listening to this, they're going to be like, what's a fax machine? So I was faxing contracts to people, just faxing them. It was like, hey, here you go. We're gonna put you down for one of these, and just faxing contracts with some tickets, And literally, like, I'd make a call, be like, hey, did you get our fax? Like, yeah, we're interested. And I sold quite a few back in the day, right? So,
that was maybe pre-email,
Oh yeah. Email was rough back then, So that's kind of how I got started, and I just fell in love with it. I was like, wow, this is pretty sweet. Like I can go out here and hustle and make connections and talk to people and actually
nice rush.
I made no commission. It was just cool, and the instincts, and that was what kind of energized me. And so I did that for a couple of years, and then when I graduated, interviewed kind of all over the country for all these different inside sales programs, and you had the NBA sales combine, and you had all these things, and ultimately it came back to a relationship I had when I was with the Toledo Mud Hens. The guy who was in charge of the internship program, Joe Barbarito, had left the Mud Hens and went down to Macon, Georgia, and was working in the AF2. I was like, hey, I need some salespeople. You did a good job. Why we were there, and he hired me. So I, didn't know a thing about Georgia. Growing up in Indiana for 23, 24 years, I packed everything in my little two-door Sunfire, and we went 700 miles south, away from helicopter mom, where she couldn't, keep
How did she like that? You moving that far away?
I think they were proud. I think they were proud that it's just such a small town.
Got his first job.
Yeah, got his first job. He's working in sports. How cool. He's moving to another state. I mean, it just doesn't, there's just, where I grew up, a lot of people just don't make it out of there. Right. And with the humble beginnings, at times in my life where, I didn't know where I was going to sleep the next night. It was tough, foreclosing on houses, single moms, right, trying to raise two kids, doing two jobs. I mean, it was tough, but But, through those struggles, yeah, it had its toll on me, as a kid, and I didn't have things that other people had and had a different lifestyle. I learned some key, fundamental characteristics about working hard, and getting the job done and doing things the right way and taking care of your family and those sorts of things. So
it's one of the things that motivated me too.
Yeah.
I mean, similar. I didn't have much growing up, and it's like I wanted stuff.
Yeah.
That gave me a good motivation.
Yeah, I mean, I was, even in high school, I was working, I'd have basketball practice and then I'd go to work, and work at, fast food place, on off nights or, on nights when we didn't have a game, and I'd work and I'd close the place down at, 11, 12 o'clock at night and then go to school the next morning. And, if we didn't have practice on Sunday, you didn't have any practice or games on Sunday, I worked all day. I put in an 8-10 hour day, as a high school kid, so it was just, a grind. And I think that stuck with me. And I think, people that I've worked with will say, yeah, that's, he brought that, kind of grind mentality, throughout his work ethic as a salesperson. So, internship, with the Mud Hens leads to job as a sales executive, making $19,000 plus commission in beautiful Macon, Georgia.
Do you remember who the head coach was then?
Mike Hold was the head coach.
Okay, and his wife Nicole, right?
Yeah, Nicole.
Yeah. Okay, I know. I was wondering if it was because I know he was there like a year or two. I thought I couldn't remember how long he was there.
Yeah, he had come in. It was his first year, Mike Hold, and then he brought in Derek Stingley. Some great, great guys, both of them. Enjoyed working with them. I wish we, were a little bit more successful while I was there, but
you know what? Those guys got me involved in Advocare.
There you go. Yeah,
back then, it was
absolutely.
When he was down there.
Yeah. I got some spark right here.
Dude, that's
still to this day,
stuff.
Man. Got to get my aminos to keep me juiced throughout the day.
I made some money with that.
Did you? Good for you. I used it because, I was, just trying to, get in shape. I didn't really try to push the business,
I did both. But yeah, Spark was we always had that stuff. I haven't in a few years now, but yeah, that stuff's good. That's fun.
Yeah. it's a small world, right? Like
so when you were selling for Macon, were you selling just tickets? Was it, partnerships, kind of everything?
Yeah, a little bit of everything, right? Small organization, which was great for me to learn. I came in and, I sold, season ticket packages, crushed it, right? Sold, group tickets, did really well, better than everybody else that was there, and kind of, solidified myself as a leader on the sales team. And then there was opportunities sell some sponsorships, and I did that. I'd had a little bit of experience, before, right? Coming out of college, it was a little bit different. The industry grown up 2 years, technology changes in 2 years. We now had email. It was getting a little more sophisticated. So less faxing and more emailing and cold calling, to sell some sponsorship deals. And I think I closed like 12 new sponsors, that we didn't have before. And, I was like, wow, I can package in season tickets and still sell season tickets, but then I'm making a lot more money because I'm selling, some advertising, some sponsorship here. So I did that and, generated a ton of new sponsors. You know how it is in the Arena Football League. You got to feed the players, and you're always looking for food partners. And I got a couple trade. Got to get some trade, but I even, I don't know if they saw this coming, but I even got some cash out of them, right? Some trade cash, combinations, which is unheard of. So, but that was great. And I spent, almost 12 months there until I got a call from a gentleman by the name of Jeff Mirander, who was the vice president of sales for the Atlanta Hawks, Atlanta Thrashers, Phillips Arena, just up the road. He and I had a great conversation, which led me to a second phone call with Tiffany Daniels, and had 2 phone calls with them, and then started with the Atlanta Hawks literally a month later, in September of 2004.
Did you know them, or was that just you applied and?
Yeah, just applied,
Okay.
old Teamwork Online. So shout out to Buffy there.
Teamwork was around then too?
It was early. It was early stages. So, there's less resumes now. If you put a job out, you got 5,000 resumes to sort through. So, but yeah, applied on Teamwork. and got the job and started on the group sales team in 2004. Was an awesome experience, being a hoops guy, opportunity to work in the NBA. We'd won 13 games, so we weren't the best team, but look, I'm working my dream job. So for me, it's like
you're in the door of the NBA now.
Exactly. And started, and then we took that team from being one of the worst, I guess, in business and sales operations in the NBA to one of the leaders. Over the next 10 years while I was there, starting at the entry level, that grind mentality, that hustle, every day coming in and being the top end calls, for, 5+ years, I've made 80 to 100 calls a day. But then next, it comes with that, all the sales, right? And so it was hitting sales numbers that had never been hit in the organization, especially in a group sales environment where, people think it's only cheap tickets. I'm selling corporate groups. I'm selling a lot of high dollar inventory. And we took it, and we eventually, and then Denise came in, which I know she was a guest, previously. Denise, Chris Zaber, I was fortunate enough, Jeff Rander was great, but there was an entire overhaul of the leadership team. Brendan Donahue, came in, Chris Zaber came in, Denise.
That's right. Wow, I forgot Brendan was there. He's over the NBA 2K, right?
Yeah. So, worked with some great people. And then, from there, a lot of us young, up and comers kind of, helped build one of the best sales cultures in all of the NBA and sports. So, it was fun. And then, and then I jetted for Cleveland for a 5-year stint, pre-LeBron part 2. And then LeBron came back. And so that was fun. Did a lot of great things in Cleveland. And then,
what is I see it's your VP of franchise operations, business development. What exactly is that?
Yeah. So it got to a point in Cleveland where, look, you have LeBron James. Let's be honest. He drives a lot of the revenue. So you create a really good strategy. You try to stretch the rubber band as far as you can and yield out, every dollar you can to maximize revenue, but you just flip the switch and it kind of goes. And so for me, hustle, grind, build mentality, I'm like, okay, I need some more. I need something else. Like where else can I go and put my efforts in and invest time to help, some business operations and maybe, train some people up, work on recruiting, developing, and help the organization so that there's more long-term stability in some other areas. So what I did is a very unique role in the organization. I was kind of a part of everything we had. So I was still on the Cav side and kind of making sure that our, entry-level development, recruitment, training process was really strong. So our entire inside sales team, on the Cav side, training, developing, kind of the pipeline for the entire organization though then. So I moved into a role where, overseeing business operations for the Monsters. So our AHL team, helping out with our G League team, and then kind of anything else we were kind of doing at that point. So gave me a much wider scope, but, I had a conversation with Kerry Bugles one time, and he's like, we just can't get A players, at all positions, in the organization. So we always have really good talent on the Cavs side, but, it's like, we're missing something. And I was like, this is the greatest, this is one of the greatest organizations I've ever worked for. And, at that point, this is the best culture. Like, yes, we can. So that was my goal, was try to, raise the talent level across the organization in all places, recruit great people really hard, give them the tools they need and let them go be successful. And then obviously the, monetary rewards would come with that.
What kind of was going through your mind in the decision when you decided to leave there and go to the Alliance? Because I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, he's a VP in the NBA, at that point, I think, Cleveland's in the finals, a few years in a row, right?
Yeah.
Is it just like, hey, you're ready for a new challenge, or What was it about that opportunity that really appealed to you?
It's I go back to the grind and build mentality. Here is an opportunity for a new, football league, spring football league. Has a lot of great people, kind of surrounding it. Obviously, we didn't know about the financial troubles we'd hit, but if you didn't think that was possible, then you had your head in the sand. But entrepreneurial opportunity to be part of something from the very beginning, to build it. I was one of the first 100 employees of the Alliance of American Football. And to be able to go out and build it from scratch was awesome. Talk about things you're going to learn that you wouldn't learn in a position, like I was in, right? Like, where's our office going to be? What's it need to look like? Right. Very high
little
level
things you take for granted.
Really?
Otherwise,
I mean, yeah. But, going through those processes, meeting with, the mayor's office and the mayor, and, like just having a seat at the table at shaping what that, that organization could look like. And a chance to go back to Atlanta, which my wife and I love. That's where we met. And, it gets cold in Cleveland, and lake effect snow is no joke. So,
I lived in Canton for 7 years. Yeah.
Yeah, and Canton's it's probably
a little better, but not much.
5 to 10 degrees warmer down there.
Yeah.
So, but just like I talked about a little bit before, is I'm at a different point. My wife and I started a family later than my mid 30s instead of earlier in my life. So I've grinded to the point where I've got myself to a great place. I think I'm in a great place professionally, but an opportunity to take a maybe a shift back on the workload that 150 live events a year, working in an organization like in Cleveland, really? Where you've got game 6 nights out of the week, and going to a place where you have 9 home matches was for me is I want to be part of, and you can do this, and it's a balance and a sacrifice, family and work, but just being in a place where could kind of shift down at a place where I think it's really important to be around for your kids, and that was important in the factor just as much as the opportunity to go back to Atlanta, be part of something new. Like it was really a perfect match of a lot of things professionally, but personally too. So great opportunity. We ran out of coffee before the season was over, and and then it was about okay, it's great, we're back in Atlanta. It was a great year and a half to be back, but where are we going next? And,
right.
But having family in mind, and so me growing up in Indiana, my wife's from Syracuse, New York, so and she doesn't want to go anywhere near that from a weather
that's
standpoint.
cold.
So here we are now in a place, in a great city in Louisville, a great organization with Louisville City and Racing Louisville, and a stadium and an academy and a brand new $16 million training facility that we're literally building right now as we speak. And close to home, close to family, but a place that affords us a great family life as much as professional life.
Yeah, I mean, I've not spent a ton of time there, but the little bit that I've been there, I mean, it's a great city. I mean, the climate is definitely a lot better than Cleveland. I mean, it still snows and gets cold, but I think it's a lot more manageable.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of great, similarities between Louisville and Cleveland. It's a foodie town. It's, a very, it's a bigger place than it feels. It feels small town. Cleveland felt like a nice. It was a nice size place, but it still felt homey and smaller than what it really was. And Louisville feels like that. Great arts, great outdoors. Lots of great opportunities. Lots of different cultures here represented. and it's, it's in between, north, south, east, west. It's great centrally located. We can go down to Nashville, we can go over to Cincinnati or St. Louis, or go up to Chicago, or kind of where we want to get from here. We can get there.
On those other jumps you made, so when you went to the Cavs, did you just apply again on Team Line, or was that more of a relationship?
Yeah, that was a relationship. So Brad Sims, who was at the NBA at Teambo for 5 years, and known him for probably 15 years or so. He was our Teambo rep when I was in Atlanta, and he was leaving. And when his last visit, he's like, "Hey, let's grab breakfast tomorrow morning. Before I go, just want to catch up before I head to Cleveland and start getting to work." I should have known that what that breakfast was about. The breakfast was about he's like, "Hey, we got a great opportunity here. We've always appreciated what you've done. Would love to have you as part of this leadership team as we're building out something great here." And he literally continued to call for over a year, and I kept saying no. And eventually we got to a point where, it was good for me, right? Slow playing it, because every time he'd call, the position got a little bit bigger and a little bit wider.
Yeah.
And so for me, waiting over that year, the role allowed me to go there and expand outside of just being the group sales guy. And so expanding into other roles, developing talent, recruiting talent, doing all those great things, selling, packages, suites, you name it, and overseeing a lot more than what I was overseeing, previously just in Atlanta. So the role expanded for me, allowed me to grow, where, I didn't think the opportunity was going to happen in Atlanta anytime soon. We had a great, core leadership group there when I was there, and, a lot of people have been there for a long time. And so I didn't think there was going to be that opportunity for me to take on a wider role. And called a year later, and felt like it was the right time to make the move.
How about your next Alliance and then back to Louisville? Was Alliance due to relationship, or was that one that you just applied for as well?
Yeah, it was. So another Teambo relationship, plus David Livingston, who I'd worked with in Cleveland and knew, and we played morning hoops together and had a pretty good relationship, was there. So there were quite a few people, and then there were some other guys I knew throughout the industry that were looking at it and asking me about it. And I'm like, well, if you guys all want to go, let's all go do this thing. And so there was a lot of relationships, a lot of people that I knew, and kind of my network that were kicking the idea around of maybe jumping at the opportunity, and that's kind of how it kind of worked out. It all happened real fast too.
Well, that's what I always tell people though too. It's like, you never know who's going to be in what position in the future, and like your effort and results, they matter. Even if you're in a place you don't want to be right now, I mean, sitting there bitching and moaning about it isn't going to help anything. It's producing, being the best that you can be, because it is such a small industry when it comes down to it. Somebody knows somebody from just about every team. There's a connection there within one or two people.
Yeah, Andrew, and I think your attitude during those times of adversity, I think, is what makes or breaks a lot of people's career in this industry. Things didn't always go smooth for me as a seller in Atlanta, right? But if I would have, worried about what everybody else was doing and sit and bitch about it instead of like controlling what I can control and what's in my control, I'd be pissed for a minute, but then I'd move on. I was like, okay, fine. I'm just going to work that much harder to overcome that. And there's so many people that were so talented that just let that eat at them. And ultimately, right, that next opportunity, they're not even thought of because of how their attitude was. And you can control that. And then you can control how you, see that adversity, how you handle that adversity, and how you move on. And a lot of people, struggle there.
Yeah, no, I agree. What, with your role now, what do you kind of focus on day to day? I mean, sales and marketing is pretty broad. I mean, are you pretty much overall revenue and everything marketing?
Yeah, we just added a new HR manager this week, and we sat down and she's like, I wanted to sit down with you first because kind of, most of the people here kind of dial into you in the organization. So, all revenue generation, whether it's sponsorship, sponsorship, naming rights, ticket sales, premium, all of that, all of our marketing and content creation. So we did, their brand rollout, Racing Louisville, oversaw that project and kind of got it to completion. Anything we're doing from a brand standpoint, social media, marketing promotions, running the game entertainment on game day for our 5,000 fans that actually can come to a game. Right now we're doing that. And then communications, so all of our public relations for the club and community relations, all graphic design, all roll.
How big is the team then that you manage?
We've got about 20.
Damn, good size.
Total. Yeah, of the 20 of the 30, I think there's 34 total. Okay. We've added so many people, and I'd have to add that up. But I think that's pretty accurate or pretty close to what it looks like.
No, I saw that you posted something on LinkedIn with SeatGeek. Is that your ticket platform that you guys use, or is that just like a partnership that you guys have?
Yeah, it is. So we were one of SeatGeek's original enterprise clients. So one of the first teams they ever worked with to run ticketing on the team side, and that was 3 or 4 years ago when we entered into that.
Oh, wow.
And, since then they've expanded tremendously, added a ton of MLS teams, international, as well as their concert product has really expanded. So relationship, Jeff Iannello and I go way back from NBA days. He was in Phoenix and then at Teambo and knew him, and I knew he was there at SeatGeek, and said, hey, we're expanding and we're looking for a great partner to expand with us and really to, look at the ticketing experience, make it seamless, not only for the fan, but for the club. And we've got, Louisville City soccer, team. We've got Lynn Family Stadium, which we're going to get into live events, hopefully in 21 if, people start touring again and we can go back to a little bit of normalcy. And then we've got Racing Louisville, coming in WSL in 2021. So we're expanding, and we want a partner who wants to expand with us. And they were great. We very quickly, got to a five-year extension
Nice.
that will encompass the stadium and everything else. And it's been done for a little bit, but over the last couple of months, they've been working on some things. We've been working on some things. So we were able to finally announce it this week, and I'm really excited about the next 5 years.
Is that naming rights, or is it?
No, it's just, the ticketing platform. And then they also took the naming rights of our ticket offices. So they have,
Gotcha.
The SeatGeek ticket office. And then, some other digital assets that they're gonna have in relationship with us.
I like their platform. When I was with the Fredericksburg Nationals, I went through a bunch of demos with them because we were looking at switching over.
Yeah.
And so when I got there, we were switching from Glitner to tickets.com, and then the SeatGeek thing came about. So I really liked it. I was all for it. I recommended we go with SeatGeek because the system was very user friendly. And I mean, I didn't get into it, so I don't know all the little quirks here and there, but from 3 or 4 sessions, I was like, man, this is solid.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that was important for us too. And I've been, I've worked with Ticketmaster, I've worked with Access, I've worked, now SeatGeek, trying to think of what other platform, Pacquiao, like been part of all these different platforms. And, they're on the back end, there's a lot of similarities and some are, I guess more user friendly on the back end than the front end, but it's really about the fan, right? And if it can do the functionality that we need it to do, and SeatGeek can do that, obviously for us, really good, and reporting and kind of the back end infrastructure is very strong. But from a customer standpoint, the digital platform, works well. The ability, to go on and buy tickets works well for the customer. And then the resale platform obviously works very well for the customer. So all those things. And, when we announced the partnership, our fans jumped in and been like, wow, it's been great. It's great to use, so easy to use. So glad this is continuing. And it was great to see that, what we thought, the fans echoed when the announcement was made and made those comments, on the post. So it was good.
Yeah, that's good. Do you guys use any other like technology or software to kind of help move the needle on the sales side, be more efficient as well?
Yeah, we're using a platform that used to be called Humble, but now it's MVP Index quite a bit. And we do a lot of, data mining through there to, build a database and do a lot of our social media targeting and ad spend through there directly. And it's plugged into our database so it can, figure out lookalikes and target those pretty efficiently. And there's a local company, El Toro, that does some digital targeting they do some really creepy stuff, which is kind of cool. It's like, yeah, we can tell you where someone is in a building, like, by their cell phone. It's pretty wild. It's like if you wanted to target, if all right, we want to target who's doing legs at Planet Fitness, today. Like, we could literally, okay, what's the makeup of the building? They could target that row of leg machines, in the building. It's pretty wild how they can fence and target people specifically and the people we're looking for. We did a campaign where we actually went after, people in the neighborhood and neighbors of our season ticket holders. They probably see, them talk about it all the time and maybe have thought about coming to a match, and we targeted those, and it was really successful.
Technology is amazing.
Yeah. So it was super successful, and, we're doing a lot of stuff, and they bring a ton of new ideas to the table all the time for us.
Are you still, with your such broad role, are you still involved in kind of the day-to-day from a sales standpoint? Like, are you out selling as well? And then, do you have directors or other leaders underneath you as well to help drive the ticket department or partnership people?
Yeah. I've got a leader in each space. They kind of runs the day-to-day, but, I help. I'm in the weeds on everything, whether it's, we were out filming a new commercial for Racing Louisville this week. I was out there, helping and doing whatever I can, mostly messing stuff up and annoying people.
Stay out of the way.
Yeah, I try to stay out of the way as much as possible, but, even that, right? And now, with, we've got a lot of big conversations going on the sponsorship side that, I'm super involved in those, super involved later today on some other projects that we're going to do, hopefully with the stadium. So yeah, I just, I like being in the weeds. I like being hands-on. I like to know what's going on. I think it's good for me to be there because it helps me lead all the way down to the front lines. See that, what they're dealing with on a daily basis, the conversations, and then knowing how to support them and put the company in the right position for decisions.
Tell me about the stadium. Was that so you came in, you've been there about a year or so, right? So
yep.
The stadium just opened.
Stadium opened, yep.
So how was that? April. How was that process, just like from a sales standpoint? I was in similar situation in Virginia where we were building a new stadium for baseball. And when I got there, the guys had they were having trouble selling because the stadium, it was all dirt. There was it wasn't, and so I had to help them overcome some of the issues they had in their mind. Once they did, then, was able to blow up. And then as soon as the stadium got closer and closer, the excitement was building and, able to sell out a signage and some other stuff pretty quickly. How was it in Louisville?
Yeah. this has been, over the last 3 to 4 years has been a really good, business operation, from a support standpoint. But I think it starts with this organization has been super involved in the community. And feels like it's a community asset. So the stadium itself, came up super quick. I mean, it was, literally they announced it and 2 years later, here it is. It's they were already in a great place with ticket sales. I think coming even at the baseball stadium, having over 6,000 season ticket holders at the baseball stadium. We're playing at Slugger Field. Already had good support, so the transition was really good. I think the biggest thing that I helped, and I'm still trying to do, help the organization, is understanding we're not the team that plays in the baseball stadium anymore, and we don't have to get bullied around by people. We've got a great product, and we got to think bigger than the little team that 5 years ago started playing in soccer in the middle of a baseball infield. So I think those are the things. So there's small things that that we've done that have made huge impacts, but it's just changing the lens of how we're looking at it. I came in, we were about 6,000 season ticket holders when I got here. We ended up we were going to be at 9,000 pre-COVID. Going into
solid.
The new stadium. So it looked great. We were on pace to, with everything else, the way groups were projecting out, with the way single game tickets were projecting out, we were probably going to sell out almost every game of the season. So it was, things were just cruising. Sponsorship was in a great place. Going into April 11th when we were supposed to open the venue, and then, COVID hit. So stadium was delayed, and we ended up opening in July, which was a wild experience. You navigate what's the league going to do, what are your state health officials going to let you do, and we were fortunate enough we were able to come back to market, and we were approved to go up to 50% capacity. But when you put in the distance guidelines of 6 feet and you dress the house, you really only get to. We were only able to get to 30%. Capacity.
Because was your home opener, that was on ESPN or it was on TV, right? Because I thought I was watching it. Because I wanted to check out the stadium. I thought the stadium looked great. So
yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful building. Just immaculate. Finest
right
details.
Off the highway.
Right off the highway.
Yeah.
Yep. It's great. It's amazing venue. $75 million, privately funded. What's really cool is that as the stadium sits on about 11 acres, we have about 30 more acres around the stadium that we're going to develop, and there's going to be a whole stadium district here over the next 5-10 years that's going to build up around the stadium, and just going to have so much surrounding it there in Butchertown neighborhood.
How do you kind of keep your staff kind of motivated and positive kind of when all of this uncertainty and just all this stuff out of our control, out of your control, because I'm sure that, it's, part of the staff is probably entry level, on the sales side. How do you kind of keep them all focused on the prize?
Yeah. I think, through this, we have built some great loyalty with our staff, and I guess faith in the leadership team and the ownership group. We did not furlough a single team member during COVID. Nice. We worked from home for 2 months. Us and the executive leadership team took cuts to make sure that didn't happen. And it was tough. There were days where it's like, we're going to do a sales team huddle this morning. What can I literally tell them besides read a new book? And literally you can't make a sales call right now. But we did a lot of things and created a lot of marketing content, which created a lot of buzz. Instead of packing it up and just going dark, over that time, we went and we did a lot of things. First thing we did is we called every sponsor, and we called every season ticket holder, and we thanked them for everything they've done for us. And we got, it felt good for the staff and it felt good for the fans. Said, hey, we're thinking about you. We're going to get through this. we got a lot of unanswered questions, but we're thinking about you, and we appreciate you, and we can't wait to throw that big party once all this is over at the stadium. So we did that. We then did over 600 hours community service the next
Nice.
couple months. So we would show up, we'd clean up a park, we would trying to do it in the most the safest way with a pandemic and a virus spreading rapidly across the country. But we did over 600 hours of community service each of the next 2 months. And, I think, everyone would show up, and they were kind of excited because they got out of their house and they got to see everybody and off of a Zoom call. And
Right.
We built a lot of really good, camaraderie amongst the team, and it was great for us over those next couple of months. And then we came back, into June, back in the office, and we had we had word from the league. We were coming back to market to play, and then we started playing games. And so at that point, was business as usual as you can be, I guess. Right. And we launched the NWSL branding, the Racing Louisville. We put that together. We were working on that for several months to get that out, and then we went on sale, and we sold over 3,000 season tickets already for them next year. So from a sales team, they're pretty motivated. They just sold 3,000 new season tickets, awesome. For a team that doesn't even have a player yet. But we know they're coming next year and going to play in the NWSL. We're really excited about joining that league.
Yeah, that's going to be great. I mean, that's great for Louisville. And I mean, you guys got a beautiful stadium. Now, when you need to add staff, check out my Free Agent Friday series, because there's a lot of good people that have lost their jobs due to COVID. And, I don't know if you saw any of them, but there's short little interviews that I do. And, I think there was one that interviewed with you. I don't remember.
Samantha.
There was a couple, Samantha, but there was somebody else from, I think she was with the Spurs. I want to say her name's like Myra, maybe. Or
Meaden. Yeah, Meaden, yeah. Zubalaga. Yeah, we hired her. Yeah, okay. She's here.
Okay, great. Sweet.
She's on staff. We're excited to have her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some good candidates in there. So I'm glad to see that she got a position. I know she had sent me a message that she was going to be interviewing. So that was maybe a month ago or so.
Yeah, I'm pushing, we're going through budgets for next year, and I'm pushing to try to add to the sales team right now, so I can get some of these people off the free agent list, quickly.
Yeah.
Before everybody else. There's it's sad. It breaks my heart, kind of what some people had to go through. We've been fortunate here in Louisville, but I know, a lot of people haven't, and they're, feel free, to have them reach out to me and anything I can do to help. And I've been trying to support, especially locally, they're, the Bats and a lot of their staff, they're down to like four staff members. And I've talked to quite a few of them and trying to help them out as much as I can. Yeah. The ones that, are looking to, find that next thing.
What do you think next year is going to look like for you guys? I mean, how is it in Kentucky there? Do you think that you'll be full capacity next year, or has there been any kind of indication on anything?
Yeah, there's still a lot of unknowns. How's this thing gonna react when it gets colder and people go back indoors and we don't have as much outdoor activity? So we don't know. What we do know is we're gonna plan like it's more normal than what we have now. We're in the height of COVID-19 in our country, and we've had with Saturday. We'll have 9 matches with fans, since July, and so we know what protocols to put in place. We've not had any, contact tracing back to a massive spread because of people who've been in our matches. I feel safer at a Louisville City match than I do at the grocery store. I just do. Yeah. And, we've strictly enforced the rules to make sure people stay safe. And our league, from a USL standpoint, very risky to go back to markets, to return to markets to play. But I think we've done a phenomenal job. I think we had a very good plan to return to markets, and I think we've kind of laid it all out there for other teams and leagues to be able to to put the protocols in place to make sure fans are safe and they can come out to sporting events. I would see us easily being able to run a full season next season.
Nice.
How many fans, don't know. We'll adjust once we know what the pandemic looks like. But I would say that our league would be able to come back and run up as normal of a season as you can. Our players are, being very disciplined, true professionals. They want to play the game they love. They've taken this very seriously to keep themselves and their families safe. I'm very impressed of how it's worked out. There's, July 12th, I had no idea what to expect. As we're opening a stadium for the first time, brand new venue. I'm a new guy in town. I only had one match at the old place, and it was unique in itself. And here we are opening this building we know nothing about to fans in the middle of.
Hey, but you get to work out the kinks with less than 10,000 people. So it lets you better position your guys' self in the future. I mean, it sucks, but
yeah, but it's been great. It's somebody had to be first to do it, and proud to be there. And I've talked to several other teams, like, how in the world did you guys do it? And I was like, well, here's our 70-page plan. That's how much detail went into actually, everything that we're doing. And I've shared that with multiple teams, through multiple leagues, and hopefully we can all take that and put it to best use for each of us and get,
that's the
get
key.
back.
Get us back. I mean, I think sports does a lot for the communities. So, and the communities that are really hurting are these small and mid-sized markets that, these teams are part of the community, and, they're not major league. So they need, fan support. So it's good. Last question for you. I know that, we're running out of time. So like, where or what is kind of your, dream job, or like, what are your career goals? You've been rising up the ranks, steadily. You've got some great experience under your belt. What's kind of that dream gig?
Retirement.
Nah, man, you sound too much like me, man. I don't buy it. You're never gonna retire. You need it.
No, yeah, I know. That dream job has been the last 20 years of doing this. Honestly, I've been living out my dream job. Being from a kid who was nearly homeless, growing up, and now working in this industry, which is the best industry to work in, and impacting and creating opportunities for others to be able to do it has been the dream job. The countless number of people who are now in leadership roles, that I helped mentor and help along the way, or start somebody's career. That's dream job material, since the early days of doing those things.
Yeah.
So.
It's real rewarding to see, the staff grow, and, people that you've helped mentor and train and grind. It's cool to see. So one of my favorite parts of the business, but I like that. I mean, I tell my kids this is, find something that you enjoy, as a career, because then you're never going to feel like you work. So, I've never sat down and counted my hours of how many hours I work. I love it.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I love working in sports. I love working in sales, marketing. So for me, I don't think I've dreaded waking up and having to work. since I was 19. So
yeah, agree. It's it's special, and the relationships that you make along the way are very special. And I value all those. There's a lot of people that are some of my closest friends that I've worked with or that's been a part of this journey, and it's great to have those relationships and carry those throughout your career.
So young people out there, listen to what Mitch and I say. Those relationships are key. Your effort is key. You can control your effort. So I want to thank you, Mitch, for joining me. It's been fun to kind of watch through LinkedIn, and it's good to finally chat, and hopefully we can continue to chat in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything I can do to help you, please let me know.